Oak Creek 911, where's your emergency?
Yeah, I was just going to Sikh Temple, and I was in the parking lot, and I think someone was shooting some guy with the turban.
He's in a church with a gun?
Yeah, I can hear it in there. He's in there shooting people.
A white supremacist fueled by hatred walked into our local Gurdwara with a loaded gun. He killed my mother while she prayed. He shot and killed 5 more men.
I think this is an assault on all of us. It's an assault on anybody who's a Milwaukeean, a Wisconsinite, an American, a human being.
Tonight, we are celebrating the lives of 6 victims who tragically lost their lives on Sunday, August 5th, 2012.
I don't know anybody personally that goes to the Sikh temple here, but it still hits close to home. He very well could have walked into my church and done the same thing.
The whole point of a candlelight vigil is that light embodies the hope that we have amongst this darkness. That so many people were getting together blocks away from where this happened without any fear and with so much love. It was tremendous.
You're in the Milwaukee area. You never think that it would happen in your own backyard. But then again, on Sunday, it did. And we go to a point where it calls us to action.
In 28 years of law enforcement, I have seen a lot of hate, I've seen a lot of revenge, and I've seen a lot of anger. What I saw, particularly from the Sikh community this week, was compassion, concern, and support.
My dad, he was the first one to help protect that temple. It was his, it was ours. He lost his life.
We do come early to prepare the food every Sunday. Usually talking about the family stuff,
Me and my sister, we went outside, and then all of a sudden, a white man had come out, and he just started shooting randomly. I just ran inside as fast as I could to tell everybody before it was too late.
My husband was sitting having tea. Then he says, close the door, and he was on the phone, 911. Then he ran to keeping everybody away.
Oak Creek 911, where's your emergency?
We were having a firing here now. Police, the guy, white guy doing firing. We need 911, quick. 15 around here.
Then we went to the dispensary. 15 people. We tried to quiet inside,
7512 South Avenue. There is shooting.
Okay, did anybody get hit? Hello?
Somebody called and said, your dad's been shot. So I called his phone and talked to somebody inside, and they said, get here, hurry up.
As soon as that call came in, I knew I was going to be the first one to arrive.
Squad, last I heard is a balding male with glasses may have gone inside with a gun and there were shots fired.
My God! Shooting! My God, shooting! What the hell is this?
Get to Oak Creek, ma'am. Hold on.
We were hearing the pop, the bullet shots. We start praying.
We need help. Somebody shooting outside.
Yes, we've got help on the way, okay?
We have to hide now.
Stand with me. Okay? Ma'am?
Thank you.
I saw 2 men laying on the ground, one on top of the other.
I need an ambulance. I do not see a shooter anywhere.
10-4.
And just as I had started moving, I saw him. White t-shirt, lots of ink on his arms, black tactical pants, and a holster on his hip. We both shot probably at the same time. My shot missed, and he hit me directly in the chin, which traveled down my throat and ripped apart my larynx. I stood up, pointed my gun, and that's when he shot the tip of my thumb off. The gun came out of my hand. So I keep crawling, and that's when he shot me in the back of the head. I know I've been shot a ton at this point. And then a funny thing happens. It just gets quiet. And I just thought, I gotta fight.
We had someone walking out the driveway towards me.
As I drove up, I saw him, and it says something just wasn't right. That's why I backed up to access my rifle, and then I pulled back up. The glass sprayed me in the face. Put the front sight, followed him, and shot until he went down.
As the minutes went on, it just became more and more urgent, and I just wanted to know what happened to Dad. Is he all right?
I think I must have asked him about 25 times. Did you find my mother? You know where she is? Did you find her?
Receiving those text messages, if you're standing on the sidewalk, you don't know who's alive and who's not, and all you can think about is, you know, am I going to see my parents?
I didn't know if I had hit him or if he just dove to get behind the cover.
Where's Murphy? We don't know where Murphy is.
Any further description if there's an additional shooter?
Just shot again.
He's still shooting. Figured I'm going to take the fight to him. If I run out of bullets, I'm going to run him over. I saw that he had a head injury, but I didn't know if I had hit him in the head or not. The round that we had heard was not fired at us. He actually put the gun to his head. Didn't want to be taken alive.
We had a lot of information pretty early on who he was and what he was all about. What he was wearing is indicative of a white supremacist to show I'm going to spill blood for the cause. Our role now is not only to protect, it's to make them feel safe, and not just in the Sikh community, but everywhere in my city.
The day after August 5th, my brother came into my room and I said, can we go after the neo-Nazi guys so that they don't ever think about doing something like this again? And my brother stopped me and he goes, look, you don't realize, like, we could either become weaker or stronger. If you retaliate, you're no better than them.
I used to cut my hair, trim my beard, depending on what I felt like each day. I'd always thought about taking the sarup, as we call it, of the Sikh faith, where you don't cut your hair, you keep your gaze on dadi. I thought about it, and I was like, you know, maybe someday I'm not spiritually ready. And when the shooting happened, I felt like if there's a day, it's today. And I wanted to show the world that even if we look different, we're still Americans and we're still human beings. You know, I'm not a terrorist.
I look at it that I confronted evil in the parking lot. You know, he was looking for division. It didn't work that way. I think it grew people closer.
We're trying to remember what happened last Sunday. We're trying to come together as a community to reassure the families and heal together, I guess.
I'm affected by any kind of tragedy, but there have been several times where I just, you struggle to like hold it together. It almost like shakes you by the shoulders and say, you gotta wake up. You can't allow these things to happen. You can't allow hate to dominate a conversation.
Our thoughts and prayers go out to the families of the victims, for our wounded officer. There is no doubt in my mind that the heroic actions of our police officers prevented an even greater tragedy.
Sita Singh, 41 years old. Ranjit Singh, 49 years old. Satwant Singh Khaleka, 62 years old. Prakash Singh, 39 years old. Paramjit Kaur, 41 years old. Shubaik Singh Khatara, 84 years old.
These were people who were walking alive just a week back. They are no more with us. We come together in love and peace and understanding rather than, hatred.
It can happen to anybody, any place, anywhere. Hatred, don't care where it goes. What hurt them also hurt us too. We are Christians, we all are brothers and sisters together. That's why we're here. We came to share their grief too.
Sometimes people think that when you go to a situation like this, it's over, it's done, you go home, let's do your job, you get back. It doesn't work that way. There were some pretty graphic things that went on there. They're trained to see that, but now when one of their own goes down, we need to heal behind closed doors in a group and come together and talk and cry. I would like to see them get some time to catch their breath too.
She was a very hardworking woman.
She sacrificed what she wanted for herself to give us what we needed. Just working for 12, 14 hours a day just to put food on the table.
My dad was a strong person, a strong personality. He was gonna fight till the end. And sometimes it, rubbed people the wrong way, but he was also a very honest person. Almost brutally honest. A lot of integrity. You don't know that you have these characteristics built into you until you need them.
How can we look into the eye of a horrific tragedy? I seek solace in the fact that even in death, my father has done more to promote awareness of the Sikh faith than he did when he was alive.
See you. Good to see you. There's intelligence that is shared amongst the law enforcement community on what we can do now, who we're looking at. But when you're looking at raw data, let's pull the data out of the FBI files, this will not show up. This is the hate crime incident report, and you can see what the hate was for. Because it's their race, their gender, their sexual orientation. And then religion, we have Jewish, Catholic, Muslim, other religion. So the Sikh community is not, there's really nowhere for me to put on here who they are. They're others.
Where are Sikhs? Where do we count our mother? What are they gonna say? 7,000 other died? That was a wake-up call, I believe, to all of us, where we needed to do something.
I know what happened at Oak Creek was not an isolated incident. I fear it may happen again if we don't stand up and do something. Senators, I came here today to ask the government to give my mother the dignity of being a statistic. The FBI does not track hate crimes against Sikhs. My mother and those shot that day will not even count on a federal form. I want to tell the gunman who took her away from me, you may have been full of hate, but my mother was full of love. She was an American. Despite everything, I still believe in America, American dream.
He became the first Sikh ever to testify before Congress in U.S. history. And how many people can say that in the world? So it was definitely dear, close to our heart.
It was just for my mom.
There's days you're sitting there and it's miserable. For me to get out of bed and walk to the bathroom was a major event. You know, I remember being in a hospital and members of the temple brought up letters and cards, and that makes you get up and move. The outpouring of gratitude and every aspect of support, they've been there. My wife and I never really went on a honeymoon, and we had tickets to go to the Florida Keys in 2 weeks. There was actually one point where I'm laying on my back and he shot me through the bicep, and I can just remember in slow motion the blood sprayed out of my arm, and I could just remember thinking as I'm crawling backwards, we're not going to the Keys. And I thought, she's gonna be mad, you know? I had been shot 15 times. I really can't feel anything on the forearm. I have half a thumb, some memory loss from the shot in the back of the head, but things could be so much worse. I'm very fortunate. Granted, I'm not thumb wrestling anybody or singing karaoke, but I could still do my day-to-day functions. The Sikh temple is on Howell Avenue, one of the busiest thoroughfares in Oak Creek. But how many people ever truly understood what they stood for, what they worshiped, what their lifestyle was like?
In our faith, God is everywhere. Sikhism was founded a little over 500 years ago in an area of India known as Punjab by who we now call Guru Nanak. We primarily believe in one God, and that all people from all different faiths pray to the same God. Regardless of your caste, regardless of your gender or where you are in life, you can find God just as easily as anyone else. You simply work hard and work honestly. You keep God in your mind, and you share what you have with others. And our God is defined essentially as the energy of the universe. As a scientist, we're really only trying to understand God in the same way that any spiritual person tries to understand God, just using different tools. And I think the concept for me, at least spiritually now, is trying to merge the two. Our lab in general looks at learning and memory, and I do that looking at how cells communicate amongst each other. These connections are the basis in how we are able to think, learn, and remember. The whole concept of Sangat, or community, in our faith is that you as an individual cannot find truth. We must learn together to find that truth. So we're always encouraged to pray in groups, to meditate together, to interact with each other, to eat together, to serve each other in that hope.
You never get used to coming into a scene where your dad took his last breath, murmuring, Vaheguru, Vaheguru, you know, please come save me. My mom used to be really involved in the Gurdwara and helping out all the time.
Still, it's hard for me. It starts shaking my heart and everything.
It's a hard obstacle to try to get over.
One of the things that was most important, I believe, for the Sikh community to hear was the clear articulation that this was, in fact, a hate crime. Not because it lessened the pain, but just because it gave them the ability to say, we are a part of America. They are our doctors, they're our nurses, our teachers, they're our masons, There are cab drivers, they are us. There is no one to prosecute here. There's no defendant for us to indict. But that suggests that we have a larger mission, and that is, in part, education. What do you take from an experience like this?
This guy was inked up to the max with neo-Nazi, white supremacist tattoos. Hate festers like a sore. It doesn't happen overnight. I wonder how many people ran into this guy and didn't know what he was about. As a law enforcement officer, you should know your community inside and out. You should get to the places that you don't normally get to. It's hard to say to someone else, don't be ignorant when you're ignorant yourself.
You can't go through this and not be affected. There's still emotion. It's not the raw emotion of the incident. All of us, I think, sense that there's a change here from it's a bad thing that happened, let's move on, to maybe we need to talk about how we can reduce the likelihood that it'll happen. I promised the Sikh community that we would continue to have events based on what happened here. Can we do something as a community to kind of change the discussion?
I think most folks in Oak Creek would say before this happened, I mean, we knew the temple existed, but in terms of interacting with the community and knowing what they're about, knowing how they live their lives was kind of a mystery.
You know, before this whole incident occurred, I really had a negative outlook on police officers, but we don't have those conversations to see they're humans.
We were right along program. Come ride with me for a day.
I would love to do that, Sam.
Hey, you come and ride?
I will.
Every time I turn to speak to a crowd, I take a deep breath and I gather myself. And I hope that once we leave today, and we will both be messengers together to get out there and basically preach the message of love.
I've seen a lot in 28 years of how people hate each other and how they treat each other, but unfortunately that's where we're at. Someone who's always telling me their brother, their uncle, their sister, they're worried that they may be one of those people. And I look at them and say, well, then why didn't you say something?
I was a founding member of the same organization that Wade Page belonged to. So in many ways, I set the stage and I created the environment that he came from. The most frequently asked question is, how did you change? I was very fortunate that kindness was given to me by complete strangers who I was outright hostile to. And while these acts of kindness didn't change me on the spot, they planted seeds that grew in my heart that left less and less room for that hate and violence.
I think that the country has gotten too used to stories like this. We don't feel each other's pain. Being awake means that you feel it. You feel Newtown. You feel it so much that you want to get in your car, drive to Connecticut, and be with the victims. But as you leave today, be awake.
I have a 6-year-old daughter, and I think about it every day. But I think we're making a difference. And for me, every day it's do the right thing, try to teach my children to do the right thing.
I'm sick of being passive, I guess. And today really helped out, like, seeing that I'm not the only one in the community who actually wants to help out.
I often say I have more faith in the kids than I do in adults sometimes. It's probably a naive statement in some extent, but kids are really going to drive this discussion.
Since that incident, people have started to believe like we actually had a problem where people didn't understand fully about other people's cultures or they didn't respect it.
We don't talk to many neighbors, but they came over and, you know, they asked how we're all doing. And it was just nice to see, like, even though what happened was bad, like, there was such a positive outcome. It brought our whole neighborhood together, our schools together.
This is a small thing, but it can set a ripple effect.
It made everybody feel like they were even like a tiniest part of something amazing.
I'm the commander of Post 430 4th Squadron, and I'm a retired police officer from the city of Oak Creek. As soon as this happened, members of the post all got together and said, what can we do?
Usually a Legion post takes care of its own members and everything, but we wanted to make this a community-wide effort. We feel that heroes from all walks of life should be honored, not just military heroes. The way today's society is, we don't get to know enough about each other. What those 6 people's death did was help us better understand the Sikhs. They understand us better, and the two communities are now much closer together. We're not born heroes. We become heroes because of something that happens in our life.
Around the community this weekend, there are congregations who are remembering those who perished.
We've known what it is like to be attacked, to feel the sting of other people's hatred. That should cause us to do everything within our power to bring about a sense of the good.
When we are doing things in our world to make a difference, each community of faith can only do so much. And that's why God gave us another community of faith and another faith tradition. We each have ways in which we touch people's lives.
How does a community come together so quickly after something so horrific? And you have to understand you're the reason that that happened, the compassion and the forgiveness that you have. We want to remember the victims, never ever forget them. But what we want to be remembered for is the response and how we came together.
Last year, I was blessed by God to be given an opportunity to serve the Gurdwara, and for that, I will always be thankful. Like the other 6 victims who lost their voice permanently, and mine who has been diminished, that voice has been replaced by everyone here. The voice of Chardigala, the voice of going forward and moving ahead.
It's very difficult, obviously, to be up here in MC when today was the day that I found out my father was murdered. I was full of so much anger. If I do something constructive, if I try to help build community, I don't think about the negative side.
As for Wade Michael Page, there is no question that my father, and I'm pretty sure the other victim families, they've forgiven him and pray for his soul.
After they took my neck off, I started crying. And I couldn't stop.
Raise your candles for him. Guru, look out.
Guru, see there.
Thank you. Thanks for your love. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
It seems like every time I get tired, somebody steps up and uplifts me, us, all of us.
As much as you were angry, as much as you were going through these feelings of grief, so was the rest of this community. And the rest of the community literally took their arms, braced them around you, and took that burden of pain away.
Yes, it makes a difference.
We can laugh, we can sing together, we can beat the drum together, we can be with each other, and that creates this healing.
Small towns, small cities in America, we can accomplish things that set examples. We can make a change that's real.
Wake up all the builders, time to build a new land.
We had all kinds of people come together today and walk and run 6K, 1K for each victim.
Chardi Kala means relentless optimism. You need to have hope that the moral arc of the universe bends to the good.
It represents a challenge. When people get to a point where they think that they can't make it, they search inside and dig in and basically keep going.
Guys. We got